Buzz Williams is an upgrade over Kevin Willard.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net. So make sure you guys head over to InsideBlackandGold.net for all your latest news. And today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. I think that Coach Williams is an upgrade over what we had in Kevin Willard. Now, I'll be honest, it's not some humongous upgrade. It's not some big time upgrade that I don't want it to seem like I'm saying. It is, I think, though, when we look at resumes, when we look at what Coach Williams has done, I do think it's somewhat of an upgrade over Kevin Willard. We all know how the situation has gone now. We know that Kevin Willard took the Villanova job while he was still coaching Maryland, basically, and during the Sweet 16 run, where I thought we had a chance to beat that Florida team. And I still think that Florida was definitely better than us. I'm not going to sit here and act like that Florida team wasn't better than us. But I think that if we were more focused, if there wasn't as many distractions, if Kevin Willard was in the background getting asked 50 million questions about Villanova and what his next moves are, and even if he did it, he didn't allow the media to be able to hear about it, I think that the Terps would have been in a much better spot to be able to take down Villanova. And what I've gathered from Coach Buzz Williams, what I've kind of heard about him, is he's never going to be the guy that a situation like that's going to happen. And to me, that's a small upgrade right there. He's never going to be a guy that gets distracted while he's leading a team, while he has a team, while he's taking a team to the Sweet 16, while he's trying to make a deep tournament run. He's not going to be distracted by another job, or at least he's not going to let everybody hear about it. And I know that's a strange situation, but I did want to go ahead and say that. I do think that he's more focused on the Maryland job. He's more passionate about the Maryland job, and I think that he likes it more. And I think that leads to me to think that part of the reason why I think he's going to be an upgrade is because I think he really wants this job. I think Kevin Willard kind of wanted the job. I think Kevin Willard was in the middle of the job, but at the end of the day, Villanova came open. He left fast. He got it out of there fast. And I know we don't know all the details with the athletic director and some of the NIL stuff, and we don't really understand exactly what that situation was. But for me, Coach Williams wants to be a Terp. He wants to be there, and that on itself is somewhat of an upgrade for Maryland, to have a guy that actually wants to be there, that actually wants to put a ton of time into the program, that actually wants to build this thing, that wants this to be his destination. I think is an upgrade on itself. I think that matters. I think that's part of it when you have a guy in Kevin Willard where I thought he kind of wanted to be there looking back at it, and it was an upgrade from his previous job, but he wasn't diehard all the way like this was the destination for him. Where Buzz Williams, it feels like this may be his destination. This may be where he wants to end up, where he ends things, where he ends his coaching career, where he is hopefully the next 10, 15 years, if we get him on the right track, if we get him going the right way. I do think that this is where Coach Williams wants to be. And that makes it so he's going to put in more effort. He's going to care more. He's not going to have a situation which we saw with Kevin Willard. He's going to put in more in the recruiting. He's going to do everything he can because he's going to feel a certain way about the program because he really is passionate about the program. But then also, we take a look at the resumes talking about what Coach Buzz Williams has done in his time, in his career as a coach. It's more than Kevin Willard's. It is just more. And I know that Kevin Willard's a little bit newer to the coaching world, a little bit, but Coach Buzz Williams, what he has done is definitely on a higher level than what Kevin Willard has done. It just is. It's a more complete resume. It's a better resume. And sure, neither of them have gone to the Final Four. Neither of them have won a national championship or anything like that. But it's a fact that Buzz Williams has gone farther in the tournament than Kevin Willard has ever gotten. Buzz Williams has gotten to an Elite Eight with Marquette in 2012 to 2013, where Kevin Willard has never gotten out of the Sweet 16, and this was the first year of him being in the Sweet 16. So he hasn't made a Sweet 16. He has almost always been a first-round exit when you look at it. In 2015, 2016, Seton Hall, Division I, round of 64. Next year, round of 64. The next year, round of 32. The next year, round of 64. And in 2020, 2021, didn't make the tournament. And then 21, 22, round of 64. He couldn't get out of the round of 64 under at Seton Hall. And I understand Seton Hall's not a crazy basketball program. They do have a solid tradition. It is a Big East program. But when I look at what Buzz Williams has done, he's done a little bit more than that over his last couple of jobs. When you just think about his Marquette job that he got right away in 2008, made the tournament right away, made it to the round of 32. Marquette in 2009, 2010, made the round of 64 in his first 2 years, whereas Kevin Willard in his first 5 years at Seton Hall didn't touch the tournament. Went 7-11, 8-10, went 3-15, went 6-12, 6-12. Didn't touch the tournament. Whereas Buzz Williams, his first year at Marquette, he was in the tournament. Second year at Marquette, in the tournament. Third year at Marquette, in the tournament. And then his third year is when we really started seeing him pick it up. In 2010, he made a Sweet 16. In 2011, made another Sweet 16. In 2012, made an Elite Eight. So that's 3 years of really good tournament play and really pushing yourself to potentially make a deep run in the tournament, whereas we haven't seen Kevin Willard do anything like that. He's been to one Sweet 16, where Buzz Williams has gone to the Sweet 16 1, 2, 3 times, and then has also gone to the Elite Eight once, which Kevin Willard hasn't touched. So when I look at kind of what he's done a little bit more. And then at Virginia Tech, first 2 years didn't make the tournament, but then after that, the next 3 made the tournament. And then Texas A&M, same thing. First 3 years didn't make the tournament, and the next 3 years he was able to make the tournament. And he had this Texas A&M team in the top 25 all year, had them highly talented, had them as a really good team. Whereas I think Kevin Willard doesn't have the same type of resume, hasn't done the same types of things. It's taken him longer to get to the tournament with a team like Seton Hall. And I understand Marquette versus Seton Hall. There is a difference there, but those are 2 solid Big East programs. Marquette, obviously, you would think of as a little bit higher, but I do think in terms of resume and what Coach Williams has done, I like him a little bit more than Kevin Willard and the resume that he has. And he seems a little bit more passionate about this. I don't know if this is just me, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. He seems have a little bit more care, have a little bit more passion to him, really cares about the team, really cares about some of these players and everything. The way he handles himself, the way he talks about some of these other guys, I really think that he really cares about the players on a whole new level. And I knew Kevin Willard cared, but I don't think Kevin Willard cared about the actual team as much as what Buzz Williams does. And to be honest, we saw a real-life example of Kevin Willard not putting the kids first, and that's something I don't think Buzz will do. I don't think he'll ever, in the middle of our run where we have our best team in the last 5-10 years, we're talking to Villanova about being their next head coach. To me, that's the kind of thing where you're like, that's really kind of a money play, and you're not really putting as much into the kids, where I don't think Coach Buzz Williams will do that. Is Coach Buzz the highest kind of guy that I thought we could have gotten? Maybe not, but I do think his care and the hard work that he's going to put into this job, in the way that he's going to develop this roster and how he's made an early impact on almost all his programs, I do think we're going to be in a really good spot with him. I do. And I'm excited to see what he can do over these next couple of years. But I do think that it's a bit of an upgrade over Kevin Willard. It's not a huge upgrade. It's not like anything crazy where it's like we just went from a role player to LeBron James or something like that. But I do think there is something to be said that this was an upgrade for the Maryland Terrapins, and this did matter for the Terps. Like I said again, though, this isn't a huge upgrade ever, but I do think this is something that was a move that actually is going to end up benefiting us. And it might not benefit us in year one, but I think over time it is something that could really benefit us. And we could look back on and say, we're in a good spot because we have the coach that we want. He's passionate about this program. We know he's going to bring us to the tournament every single year. And we're just waiting for Buzz. The next step for him is to make a Final Four. He's been to an Elite Eight. So we'll see if he can do that on the Maryland program. And if he can do that, I promise you, all Maryland fans will be happy with where we are at right now. Let's talk more about the offseason. What does a successful offseason look like for the Terps? We'll talk about that next. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their futures and so is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You can be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me that peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more than or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win over to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. This week, I'm picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. It's that easy. It's fast and simple, and setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds. And when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. You can always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So we're starting to get into some of the off-season of Maryland basketball, and we're really going to start seeing, I think, over the next couple of days, what players potentially add on to Coach Buzz Williams and in the new Maryland program. And there's been a couple of Texas A&M players that have entered the portal that I do think Maryland could potentially get, and that it looks like a pretty good shot at Maryland getting. But I also want to talk about today, because I talked about that a lot yesterday. I want to talk about, what does a successful offseason actually look like for the Terps? What is successful? What needs to happen? What do the Terps need to get? And I think, to me, it starts off in the portal. The portal is going to be the most important thing to this successful offseason. Like I said, year one doesn't have to be anything amazing. I don't think we have to go to the tournament. I don't think we need to be a top 5, 8 team in the Big Ten. If year one under Buzz Williams, he tries to dig into the portal and it doesn't go as good as you want, and he's not able to build a 12-man team or a 7 to 8-man rotation just based off of guys he was able to get in the portal, then I'm not going to blame him. It takes time. You want him to be able to get his recruiting classes. You want him to be able to get his staff fully in. You want him to be able to fully get a year or 2 under his belt so that the roster actually looks like how he wants it. It's not like we just had to fill 12 roster spots in the portal and we're going to go about it that way. And so I do think that's an important part of this, is that you got to kind of take a lot of this with a grain of salt. But to me, a successful offseason looks like Maryland's got to get these Texas A&M guys. And it does look like we're going to get them. But there's a couple of them in the portal ever since Coach Williams announced that he's going to leave. And I do think some of them can really help the Maryland program. And it does sound like a couple of them are going to be really interested in the Terps. Like Pharrell Payne, for example. A lot of people think he's going to end up going to Maryland. And I do think that could really help with what he brings down low, how he scored last season. He averaged nearly 10 points a game or upwards of 10 points a game, had 2 20-point games in their 2 tournament games against Yale and against Michigan. Like, he's definitely a guy we want to bring in, and he entered the portal with a no contact tag. And so that's one of the guys. There's also this kid, Andre Mills, who didn't play last year. And then Solomon Washington as well was one of the better defenders apparently on Texas A&M and in the SEC, and was really good and was a really high end at that. So I do think that Maryland is going to want to end up getting one of those guys. I do think that's important, and that's going to be a really big mark of success for this offseason. How well do Buzz Williams recruits actually want to come to Maryland? I think that's one of the most important things. And I also think that's going to tell you a lot about the type of coach he is. If we get like 4 of those guys, 3, 4 of those guys, then you might be looking at this and say, you feel good about Coach Buzz Williams. You feel good about what he does. You feel good about him as a coach. And that means that guys like playing for him. If guys go from Texas A&M all the way to Maryland, guys like playing for Coach Buzz Williams. And there's a reason why Maryland brought him in and that players really like him. So I do think that's a really important mark of this offseason, as well as I want to see him get a couple of guys outside of Texas A&M. I think that's going to be an important part of the offseason. I'm going to look at and see what kind of level is Coach Buzz Williams at, is who can he get outside of Texas A&M? Because, we know you're good at developing relationships inside your program and really getting people to trust you and really getting people to feel good about you. But how much can you do that in terms of how much can you recruit in the portal? Like, we saw Kevin Willard, even though we hate the way he left, even though we hate the way some of this ended up being, and we hate that he wanted to take that Villanova job or whatever the case is, we did see Kevin Willard last offseason have a huge portal, and it was a big reason why we were able to compete. He brought in Rodney Rice, who averaged 13 points a game, was one of the best scorers. I thought pure scorers, shooters in the Big Ten. Selton Miguel, even though I thought he was probably the weakest part of the starting 5, he was still part of that crowd 5 and a really good player. I think Gillespie was a 3rd-team All-Big Ten player. We brought in 3 guys that ended up being really high-end starters for Maryland basketball. Can Coach Williams do that? Can he bring in 1 to 2 guys outside of the Texas A&M, or 3 guys outside the Texas A&M pipeline that are guys that are going to really make a big impact at Maryland, guys that are really high-end recruits? And I think we're going to need a pretty quick idea of how well he can use the portal, how well is he going to be able to get guys. And I do think that's going to be interesting for Maryland basketball and to see where Coach Buzz Williams is at, and I kind of want to see that. But to me, the success of the offseason really lies in the portal. And then also I want to see, can he keep any of the recruits where there's only one? Can you keep Christian Jeffrey? That's another part of it. I think that's important as well. I think those are kind of the most important parts of the offseason, and that's what's going to be. And if he does a good job in the portal, to me, the offseason is successful. If he does a good job in the portal, maybe you can get back Derek Queen, bring back Derek Queen, and I think we'll all celebrate and we'll all be excited about the portal and all those types of things. Derek Queen's been tweeting some funny stuff, if you guys have been seeing that. He tweeted about the Kevin Willard in the Villanova gear and said, "This looks weird," or something like that. So he's been tweeting, he's been saying stuff. I think he's been joking because everyone's been like, Chance Stevens is the only Maryland player left on the roster. And then Derek Queen's like, I'm still on the roster too, but it's just kind of a joke. We all know he's going to the NBA. So I do think some of that's going to be fun, but keep Derek Queen, and that's a pretty successful offseason to me. Make him not go to the lottery and be a draft pick. But that could be interesting as well. Let's talk about some recruits. Let's talk about football recruiting, some of that stuff. What do I think can happen overall? We'll talk about that next. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. If you're feeling the lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament or squeezing in a round of golf after work or just trying to keep up your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching all the tournament action, and 5-Hour Energy helps you keep up the next day. With longer days, I love getting outside for a hike or run, or tropical burst is my go-to for a quick boost. Whether I'm at the game or traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab 5-Hour Energy Shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up to date and stay energized. So let's talk about some Maryland football recruiting. We haven't been able to talk about football much. There's been so much with the Buzz Williams situation, some of the portal stuff, and there's going to continue to be a lot about it. So I wanted to make sure we mixed in some of the stuff about the portal, or about recruiting, where Maryland football's at, kind of how all that's going, because I do think there is some interesting stuff going on for Maryland recruiting. Right now, as it sits, we still are in a really good spot in terms of recruiting, I think, for Maryland football. I think Mike Loxley's 2026 class has a chance to beat the 2025 class, and I've told you guys that. And obviously, we have 5-star Zion Ely. That's the number 1 ranked player in the class, arguably, depending on what site you look like, top 5 on every single site. I think he's really going to be a talent that we never seen before. And it's, when I say he has a chance to be the best Maryland Terrapin ever, I mean he has a chance to be the best Maryland Terrapin ever. And when you start your program like that, or when you start your recruiting class like that, you're going to be in a pretty good spot in terms of recruiting. You have a really good chance to be able to build something special. But the Terps are in some other battles that I'm also really excited about that I think can really help them. They just actually announced 2 twin brothers, Aiden and Andrew Harris, are both down to 10 schools. And I do think this is really interesting because Aiden is ranked as the number 2 ranked defensive lineman in the 26th class, and Andrew is the number 3 edge in North Carolina. So these are 2 guys that, if they come as a package, it sounds like. And what I've been saying for the Terps, we've been able to recruit the skill positions. There's a surplus of those guys. Getting receivers, getting a running back, getting some of those guys, there's a lot. You can find those in the portal. You can find those lower end of the recruiting class. But some of these good defensive linemen, some of these good offensive linemen, they don't grow on trees. And if the Terps, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen, it's just their top 10, but they're big-time programs in there. So I don't know kind of how Maryland fits in there, but there's some big time programs like Florida, Texas, Auburn, Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Penn State, like NC State's in there, and then Maryland's in there. So I do think there's a reason for Maryland to be in there, but my thing is, if Maryland can get one of those guys, if Maryland can compete for one of those guys, I think it can really put the Terps, honestly, in a really good spot to be able to get these guys as a duo, because what I've been saying, like I said, the offensive defensive line, that's the most important part of this whole thing. Being able to recruit up front, if you can do that, you can compete with some of the big dogs in the Big Ten. Look at what Michigan does. Michigan gets some of the top guys up there every year. They have a top offensive line in the country, and even when they can't throw the ball like last year, they still find a way to beat the best team in the country, I think, for everybody's money. How it finished with Ohio State. They beat that Ohio State team by being able to run the football. They beat USC by being able to just run the football. And sometimes you need to take some of the pressure off of just being able to fling the ball around, be able to pass the ball over the place. Yeah, that's cute, and yeah, that works sometimes. But you got to be able to run the ball in college football, especially in the Big Ten. And then I think we haven't talked about Emmanuel Iheanacho. His recruiting process has still been going on for a little bit now, and I don't know when he's going to make a decision, but Maryland is still predicted to land him. He's one of the top offensive linemen in the class. He's a 5-star, right next to Zion Ely, number 2 ranked player in the state of Maryland. Actually dropped on the 247 rankings a little bit, was a top 5 player. Now is the number 11 ranked nationally. Still a really big pickup if Maryland can get him. But he is still predicted to go to Maryland. So that could be 2 5-stars in the 2025 or 2026 class from Maryland, which would just be which would be crazy, which would be insane, which would really allow Maryland program to be in a really good spot. And I still don't know how we're doing this. This is where I'm like weird about what Kevin Willard was saying with the NIL stuff and not being fully supported. I don't know if he meant the basketball program or what, but if we're getting guys like Zion Ely and Malik Washington and Derek Queen and some of these 5-star guys, the NIL's got to be in a certain spot. These guys aren't coming for free. I'll tell you that. And I know some of these other schools, big time schools, are offering these guys a lot of money. So I don't know exactly what the deal is with that, but I do think some of that's interesting. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.